Hey, what's happening, nation? It's Son Joku. Want to take a look at the Raiders-Seahawks game, kind of do a little breakdown on it, get your guys' thoughts and opinions on it. I came up with 8 things for the offense, 8 things for the defense. I just want to run through them real quick and just kind of show you guys what I saw and see if you agree or if you disagree. If you're new to the channel, please do think about subscribing. I really do appreciate that. It helps me out, really keeps me growing. We're not going to waste too much time. We're going to go ahead and jump into this top 8. The first one I wanted to talk about was Leatherwood and INGOLD. I thought that offensive line looked pretty damn solid for that first rotation. I was watching those two guys mainly, incredibly close, just to see how it would go. INGOLD looked like he was making the right calls. He was really controlling that line. It did not seem like he was skittish. He was screaming it out. You could hear it on the cameras when I was watching the game, so I was super impressed to see that. And then Leatherwood is way larger than I thought he was. I guess I read so many stats and go through so many numbers. They all just kind of clump together in my mind. But then once you actually see somebody on the field, that is an intimidating man, and I was happy as hell to see that. One of my bigger concerns from this game was the depth of that offensive line, though. Outside of Lester Cotton, who I thought played incredibly well, back-end depth of that offensive line was scary, like scary bad. I saw Brandon Parker looking a little bit rough still. There's a few other guys that kind of jumped out to me that aren't going to make the team any, but it was still worrisome, just kind of watching how fast they were getting to Peterman on a few of those plays. But as long as our young core can stay semi-healthy, I really think our offensive line will not be a problem. But if we get into a situation like we did last season, to where we're missing like 4 or 5 guys from our offensive line, and we have to get into some of those like true depth pieces that we saw last night, that's going to be a little bit frightening. So hopefully it does not get to that point. Next one I want to jump into, obvious, Trey Regis went out, saw his opportunity, and he took full damn advantage of that. I thought that kid played lights out, like lights out. 13 carries, 62 yards, and a touchdown. He also had 3 catches for 20 yards. You can tell he wants that number 3 running back spot incredibly bad. And he did everything in his power to make that dream come true. So I'm really pulling for this kid. I really was hoping to see a little bit more Groshek. Maybe in the next game we'll get to see him kind of take the lead. But BJ Emmons played insanely good too. And a lot of people have not been talking about that. I understand that one of his runs was for like 20 yards. But that's not a bad thing. He ended up having 9 carries for 45 yards. It was a 5-yard average, and he also got a touchdown where he went diving over the pile. I thought they both looked incredibly good. Evans did not make any catches out of the backfield, so we really didn't get to see his hands at all. But between the two of those, they carried that game pretty damn well. So props to both of them. Regis, way to show up. Hopefully you turned enough heads to give yourself an opportunity to make this 53. If not, maybe you turned a head on some other team and they're like, I'd like to bring him on and give him a shot. Either way, welcome to the NFL, my man. Okay, after that, it was Peterman. Obviously, we have to talk about Peterman. He went out there and played a hell of a game. He looked like a completely different quarterback. He was more relaxed. He seemed real poised. He seemed like he was just out there having fun, trying to help these rookies kind of make their dreams come true. He honestly looked like a solid number 2 quarterback for an NFL team. It was super happy to see that, man, especially when we don't know what's going to end up happening with Mariota. I understand he got picked off on that ball that ended up getting tipped, but he was 29 for 39 with 246 yards and then that pick, but he looked damn good. And at the start of that game, him and Zay Jones, you can tell, have been working together because they had some chemistry that the Seahawks could not even match up with at all. It was cool to see that. It was cool to see Zay get involved. I'm still kind of on the fence about Zay. I'm not going to lie about that. But he played incredibly well, along with Doss. I think Doss played a very good game. And then DJ Turner, I like DJ Turner just because he was also doing some of the return game for us. And I really wanted to see our number 6 wide receiver be a return man as well, just to have that speed and that added weapon. I'm really hoping Renfro is going to continue to do punts. It scares the hell out of me, but I know he's going to bust one. Like, I know he's going to bust one. But I'd also like a true solid kick returner, and I think DJ Turner could be that guy for us. I mean, he ended up having a pretty damn good game, too. He had 7 catches for 43 yards, so props to DJ. But on the other hand, we got to talk about Marcel Aitman. That did not look very good. That might have been the end of Marcel Aitman on this team. I like him, man. He's been with the team for a minute. He's kind of been practice squad. But the talent level on this team has risen past him, and that just is what it is. I wish him the best of luck, but I think you're going to see him be a part of this first group of cuts coming out. So hopefully he lands someplace else. I'm pulling for the dude, but I just don't see it happening. And then the last thing I wanted to mention on the offensive side of the ball, it seemed like there were still some red zone issues at the start of that game, which was a little upsetting to see. And I get it, that is not our starting offense, that's not Card, our starting running backs, but just the fact that it took us 4 plays to go 1 yard just kind of had me shaking my head at the start of that. I do think the offense played incredibly well. I think Gruden's script worked incredibly well. A lot of that had to do with Regis just straight up going off this game, along with Peterman and the tempo that he ran this offense at, man. I will say that about last night. The tempo that this team kept on both sides of the ball was the most impressive damn thing that I have seen out of this team in a good minute. And if we could do it with Peterman and Regis, there's not a doubt in my mind we could do it with Carr and Jacobs. But overall, I gave the offense a solid B last night. The only reason they're not an A is because that offensive line has me so suspect right now that I'm really curious to see if the Raiders end up making any more additional moves across that offensive line as far as the depth pieces go. I would not be shocked by it, but we'll just have to keep our eye on it and see how it goes. Now I want to go ahead and jump over to the defensive side of the ball, run through my 8 for that, and just kind of see how you guys are feeling about it. The biggest thing that stood out to me as far as the defensive side of the ball goes was how fast and how smooth these guys played on the field. It was such a welcome change to actually see us have what appears to be a legitimate defense, especially when it was the majority of our depth pieces. The communication was on point, everybody knew exactly what they were supposed to be doing, and that allowed them to play incredibly fast. I was honestly shocked at how good the depth of this defense looked last night. I'm not going to sit here and lie. It was better than I ever even would have imagined. One key thing that did stand out to me though was Kwiatkowski playing so much in the first part of this game. Did I miss something? Did something happen that I don't know about? Does Kwiatkowski just not fit into Gus's system at all, so he's trying to earn a spot doing something else on this team? I love this kid. I am super happy that he is a Raider, and the fact that it appears that he's been bumped out of this starting lineup blows my freaking mind. I'm not going to lie, and I would love to get your guys' thoughts on it. So please hit me up. Let me know, did I miss something about Nick? Is Nick just not the dude for this system? Is Nick going to end up playing a different position? Or is he just going to be a backup tomorrow? Next, I want to jump into the defensive line. I thought that rotation last night looked insane. I was super happy to see the pressure we were getting, especially on the interior side of the ball. But we are still getting pressure off the edge as well. This defensive line rotation is going to be what flips this team next season and makes us a playoff contender. Thomas, Jefferson, Phylon honestly played an incredibly good game getting interior pressure for the majority of it. Earl came off the edge a few times and got some good pressure, but was never actually able to finish. But he looked very fast. He looked very damn strong. I'm really impressed with the progress that he's made. I understand that he's lost his starting spot on this team, but being a rotational piece that can play that end spot and the interior spot makes him priceless for this team. I think he's going to be a huge impact player for us this season, and I'm really hoping people start to get his back a little bit more than they have been. The next two I wanted to talk about was Muse and Koontz. I'm going to go ahead and group them together because they're both guys that change positions. I thought they looked incredibly good. Muse looked better than Koontz did. I think Muse played a very good game. Got in there and got his hands up, but he seemed like he knew what he was supposed to be doing. He showed his speed on a few occasions last night. You can tell that he has the size and power to play that linebacker position, and I really think he's going to end up working himself into a starting role by the end of this season in that linebacker position. As far as Koontz goes, I think he's definitely going to stay a rotational piece, but he has some serious crazy speed. I was not expecting that. I think you might see him through some packages throughout this season. You might see him sneak in there and end up getting himself 3 or 4 sacks before the season's over. But definitely another player that really impressed during his rookie debut through the preseason. So Koontz, props to you, man. I thought that was awesome. Next is Hobbs. And I'll tell you right now, let me blow him up real quick. I told y'all this kid was going to come out and set the tone for this defense early and just kind of make a statement saying, like, I know Lawson's going to be suspended the first 2 games. He's not going to have a chance to be a starter on this team because I'm going to earn that shit through this preseason. I'm going to show you guys exactly what you have. This kid's going to be something special, man. I am telling you. To have the hype behind you, then to get into that game and then just blow the damn quarterback up. And no, it was not a fumble, but it was pretty damn close. Just the energy level that he brought to the field. This kid paired up with Abram and Trayvon in that secondary is going to be so damn sick once these 3 players gel together. You're going to have to come up with a name for our secondary. We are not going to have a choice. It's going to be damn lights out. It better be something cool because I don't want it to be something dumb like salt and pepper as far as that defensive line went. So really be a little bit more creative on this next one. Let me shrink him back down real quick. The next guy I want to talk about was Jerry Green. He got a ton of play time last night. They were definitely taking a look at him, just seeing what he does have. I don't think he has a shot at making this 53 unless somebody does get injured, but I think he's going to be a definite practice squad player for us. It was cool seeing him, man. You're going to get a few more cracks at it before it's all said and done, but I think you're going to be safe for this first round of cuts, so props to you. And the last thing I want to talk about as far as the defense is concerned, it was the fourth quarter defense. When you start getting into that fourth quarter, you start seeing the players that are coming onto the field that are pretty much your camp bodies or your possible practice squad people. And some of the guys that were on the field late for us in the fourth quarter were dudes like Rasul Douglas, like Ray Wilson, Amik Robertson, who I've been telling you guys for a good minute now is probably not going to end up making this roster. And I know he ended up getting torched on one play, and then he made a play late in the fourth. Like, that play late in the fourth was him making a play on somebody else's practice squad cut list. So you really can't put any stock into that. I thought Amik had a pretty tough game last night. It kind of sucked to see. I'm thinking he's going to be along that first line of cuts as far as Aitman goes. I think you're going to end up seeing Amik on that same list. And I think you're going to end up seeing Dalen Levitt on that same list. He ended up getting torched last night for a touchdown. He had a little bit of play time. Dalen's kind of been hanging on to this team, but again, with the added talent that we brought on, you bring in Gillespie, you bring in Hobbs, a dude like Dalen Levitt, is just going to end up getting outclassed, and we're going to end up moving on from him. So it sucks, but I think those three guys could end up being part of that first cut list. And on one hand, it's sad to see him go, but on the other hand, I only care about this team getting better, and if that's what it takes to make it happen, then so be it. Best of luck to those dudes in the future. But overall, as far as the defense is concerned, I'm giving it an A. I was very, very impressed by the defense last night. The speed, the flow, tempo that they played at on the defensive side of the ball was something that I have not seen from a Raiders team in a good damn minute. Besides the people that I was worried about not making this team, I thought everybody else really showed up and played pretty damn good. I understand Arnett got burned on that one ball. He was going for the pick instead of making the play. You know he's going to get chewed out for that shit. Next time, Arnett, just make the damn tackle. You are trying to earn a spot on this team. And granted, a highlight reel of you streaking for 6 on a pick would have been a way better deal, but you getting torched for 25 or 30 down the sidelines because you blew a tackle and ended up going up high is not going to help you in the long run. I think he's still pretty much safe on this team. I really have no worries about him not making this 53-man roster, but I really want to see him show up and just kind of make a name for himself and show, like, I'm still a contender, I still belong on this damn team, and I belong in that starting role, and I'm going to do everything it takes to prove that. But that's the kind of competition we have on this team, on this defensive side of the ball right now, and that's what's going to make this whole damn defense better. I'm really curious to see how this 53 ends up shaking out, because we have a ton of talent on this team right now. Definitely going to be live in the next couple days, so keep an eye out for that. It's going to be around 10 p.m. Eastern time. I'm not sure what night I'm going to be able to pull it off, but I'm definitely going to be live at least once before our next preseason game. So make sure y'all click that sub button. If you can click that like button on the way out, it really does help me out and keep me growing. But until next time, guys, I'm Sun Joku. Thank you all very much for coming to check another one out, and we will see you guys on the next one.